What we should be saying is, actually, it's really up to you how you feed your baby. So you can't, what should be happening is that, again, this is like for me, this is all informed consent and informed choice, is that antenatally, we shouldn't just be having a conversation that is, you're going to breastfeed your baby, aren't you? Because there are so many benefits and it's going to help you lose your baby weight, which is sort of, unfortunately, how these conversations tend to go. And we're not going to talk about formula because we can't talk about formula. What we should be saying is, actually, it's really up to you how you feed your baby. The most important thing is a well-fed baby and a happy parent.
Yes.
And, it's quite likely you're going to wind up using formula. And if and when you do, this is what you need to know. You need to know how to sterilize a bottle. You need to know, how long you can store for made-up feeds in the fridge for. You need to know when you need to discard an unfinished bottle, so you're not accidentally feeding your baby a Petri dish. And you need to know that formula milk is essentially all the same. So don't be conned into spending, twice what you would otherwise pay for, a particular brand or a particular label within the brand. You don't need to do that.
But so that's interesting, because when we have policies like the Baby Friendly Initiative, which are, I would think well-intentioned, theoretically, but because they forbid any discussion of formula in hospitals after birth, they basically leave the field open to the multinational corporations to provide the education, right? So basically, all the information that parents are going to get is going to come from these multinationals, even though they are inevitably going to use those products. They're just left at the mercy of those corporate interests.
However, what we're seeing now in the 21st century is that there are all these unintended consequences. And one of those things is certainly that because we're not having proper conversations about formula milk, that and the formula companies continue to find ingenious ways to sort of circumvent the existing regulations, through implication with their brand labeling, or so they find ways around it. And no one's empowered or equipped as a consumer to navigate that. And I think we've got to be really creative and imaginative now and think about, either we need to be really robustly introducing lots of information antenatally about formula milk and having open conversations which empower people as consumers, and also to make a much freer choice, free from stigma, about how they want to feed their babies. We should be doing that on principle, in my view. And I think we should also be exploring things like price caps or price controls. And I think, actually, I think there's a very strong case to be made, in fact, for reintroducing a national formula milk